Alright, so here we will introduce two methods of steaming milk for latte art. The first one will be our traditional way, which includes holding the pitcher and manipulating the depth of the wand and the angle and so forth. The second way will be kind of like a cheat code, a little life hack to help you make it simpler and basically hands-free. So with that said, let's get started with the manual process. First we'll pull a shot of espresso. Alright, we've got our cold milk here. And for the cold milk, we have a pitcher here. We're using whole milk. It's nice and cold, and we fill it just below this pitcher. With this, it's about 108 grams, and that'll be about three times the amount of espresso that we're using. We're going to use under 40, over 35 grams. We aim for 36. Alright, so there's our espresso. Got a nice crema in there. And so what we're going to do is break up that crema. We're going to set that aside and prepare our steamer. Again, we're using whole milk because whole milk has a higher fat percentage. What that means is that it's able to hold onto those bubbles a little better. Okay, step one is to clear out the steam wand. Alright, this is just to get any extra air and water out of the line. Okay, so in the traditional way, what we do is we put the wand in the spout, and then we get the surface, or the tip of the wand just below the surface. Then we bring it over to the side a little bit, and maybe even up. And this is what it should look like, this position here. And then we turn it on. And if you have variables, you want full steam always. And then what we do is we lower the pitcher to bring that tip closer to the surface. And it produces this sound, which is like a kissing sound or a paper tearing sound, little chirping sounds. And then once the milk is about the same temperature as your hand, we're going to raise that pitcher back up to reduce that sound. And what we're doing is we're stopping the air from going into the milk. So now we have all the air we'll need, and now we're just mixing it in real good. So before we were stretching the milk or adding air, now we're texturing it, or basically just breaking down those bubbles and spreading them out real good. Alright, and once that milk is too hot to touch, we can turn it off. We want to wipe down our steam wand, wipe it down, purge it, clean it out. Alright, and here's our milk. It should look like wet paint or melted ice cream. Okay, see how it's nice and glossy? Not too thick, no visible bubbles. And if you do see bubbles, you can give it a little tap, and then a swirl. And swirl our milk again, or our crema. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to mix that in a bit. So we start off by laying our canvas, which means just incorporating some of the milk into the coffee until the cup's about 2/3 full or so, depending on the pattern that you desire. And we begin to pour. Now, I'm no professional at pouring latte art, but the point is that you need the milk to be just the right texture that it can sit on the surface of the coffee without being too foamy. So it's very controllable, okay? And we'll do this on another time, but in the other one, we're going to do the hands-free method. People also call it ghost ride, or there's another name for it named after a person. And with that method, it's going to take a lot less hands-on approach. So let's go ahead and prepare another espresso and pitcher of milk for that. Now we'll show you the other way, ghost ride or hands-free or whatever you want to call it. The point is that it doesn't require holding the pitcher and adjusting it. It just takes advantage of the natural patterns of physics. So let's go ahead and pull a double shot. Alright. Over here we've got our whole milk, nice and cold. Again, filled just below the spout there. It's about 108 milliliters. We're going to pull about a 36 gram shot. So, 1-to-3 ratio of coffee to milk. Alright, so we've got a 37 gram shot here. Got a nice beautiful crema on it. Make sure I let you see that. This is a fresh coffee. The crema basically just means that there's CO2 that came out of the beans. Here we're warming up our steamer. And then before we steam our milk, again, we want to purge out the steam wand, make sure there's no condensated water built up in there from the steam cooling down, as well as, just pockets of air. So we'll point that away from ourselves and let some steam out. Right. We've got our towel ready for when we finish, we can wipe it down. So what we typically would do is bring it out to us, hold the pitcher, all that extra stuff. But instead, this trick will be to sit the pitcher on the drip tray here with the steam wand in it, and use this to control the process for us. Okay, so we've got our pitcher here sitting on the drip tray, hands free, and we adjust our wand so that's just at the surface there, and we let the physics do everything else. So we just turn it on. We may make a small adjustment at the beginning. Alright, so now it's incorporating the air. And as it incorporates that air, it'll increase in volume because, you know, the milk now has air bubbles in it. And so the milk will rise, which will cause it to stop adding air as that milk level rises. And from there, it'll just continue that vortex, which will incorporate those air bubbles. And really all we need to do is keep an eye on the temperature. Basically, when it's too hot to touch for like 2 seconds straight, then we know it's about the right temperature. And some of these variables change a little bit depending on the type of milk you use, but most baristas will recommend starting off with whole milk. Alright. And just like that, without all of the muss and fuss, we still have our glossy milk. Nice and creamy. It looks like melted ice cream or like wet paint. We got a couple little bubbles in there, but that's no problem. We can just knock those out and they disappear. We want to make sure we wipe down our steam wand before that milk bakes onto it, and give it a quick purge. Because as you stop that steam wand, the difference in the heat and pressure causes some milk to get sucked into it. Alright, so we've got our milk nice and glossy, ready to go. And break down our crema. Let's give it a try. Ooh, that's hot. Sorry about that. Start by laying our canvas, just incorporating some of that milk. This raises the level of the coffee for us so that we can reach it better and paint on it. I'm no professional, but at least we can show you that it's very easy actually to texture your milk with the steam wand. What's important is that you just know that first you need to incorporate some air, and then you need to allow that air to mix in well. And with this process, you can do it hands-free.